Hi everyone, I'm Nicole, xstitch. Today is July 1st, 2023, and this is Flosstube number 15. As of today, I have stitched 185,370 stitches since I started stitching in 2020, and I have stitched 5,550 stitches exactly since my last video. So I'm really excited to share with you all the things that have happened since my last video in June. And I guess to give a little bit of an overview of all of the parts of this video, I think it's going to be a bit of a longer one, at least for me. Maybe we'll push an hour, I'm not sure. But you know already. So to give an overview of the video, I'm going to start with a couple updates about my Etsy shop. I have a new pattern that I'm releasing that I'm excited to share with you today. Then I'll talk about some other finishes that I've had since my last video. And then since it's July, I think it's about time for a mid-year WIP Parade. I don't personally keep a lot of WIPs around, so this won't be really that different than my normal like WIP updates, but we'll do a little WIP Parade. I'll give you my stats and my stitching stats for June, my plans for July, and then we'll do like purchases, happy mail, and then a few life updates. And that'll be it. So let's just jump right in with some shop updates. So as you may know, I opened my Etsy shop for cross-stitch designs in mid-June. So it's been open for like 2 or 3 weeks now. And I opened it and released one pattern, and that's the only thing that's on there right now. It's called Save the Bees. And I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has supported my shop so far. Everybody's been so kind, and I've been kind of blown away. I didn't expect to, like, I guess just sell as many patterns as I have so far, and for there to be such like a warm response to it all. So thank you to everybody. An extra big thank you to my mom who helped me model stitch that one, and also a really big thank you to Laura from Stitching by the Shore. I will link her YouTube channel below. Laura is awesome. I didn't actually know about her channel until she messaged me on Etsy and said, hey, I want to buy 2 of your patterns so that I can give one away on my channel, which was so sweet. Thank you, Laura. And then I started watching her videos, and she's amazing. So it's just perfect, happy, like lovely thing to find a person like that. And she's also stitching Heaven and Earth Designs Hidden Harbor. So I feel like it was like meant to be. Thank you so much, Laura, for giving away one of my patterns. That was really awesome. And also made me think that maybe I should give away some of my patterns sometime. So I'll just keep that in mind for some future videos. I did want to show you, and I forgot to take it out, of course, laptop, because I have to have all my notes with me. I did some, yeah, okay. So last time I showed you Save the Bees, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of jumped the gun on opening my shop, I think, realistically. I was just so excited by the time I had finished. Well, like, I was excited when I made the pattern, and then I was excited when I decided to open my Etsy shop, and then I was so excited by the time I had finished my stitch, and my mom had sent me a picture of hers, that I was like, I just have to do it. I literally didn't even have my mom's like finished piece with me when I decided to list the pattern on Etsy. And so, to be honest, the pictures that I have on there, they're not very good. They're really not, but I could not wait anymore. So I'm gonna up my photography skills in the future. But since then, I hadn't done any finishing on those 2 pieces. I'd just taken a picture of them like on all of the fabric. And I was trying to figure out how I wanted to finish Save the Bees, because here's the thing about that pattern. I just kind of freeform designed it, and when I was designing it, I wasn't necessarily thinking about framing sizes. And so unfortunately, the like ratio of the dimensions of the frame that's on Save the Bees doesn't really match any ratio for a frame. like a normal standard size frame. So if you were to like, let's say put it in a 5x7 frame, like one side would have a ton more fabric than the other. I'll show you a little bit more in a minute. So after deciding that it wasn't really going to make sense to frame it, I decided I was either going to flat fold finish or do something else, something where I could control the size of it. And so here's what I did for the first time ever. I have to take it out of some plastic, so apologies for the crinkling. Okay, there we go. No more crinkling. So I had seen this before. I think the first time I ever saw it was from Modern Folk Embroidery. I had seen a finish shown on Jacob's channel, and he like held it up and it was like finished as like a piece of fabric. Like the edges looked finished. And I was so confused. I was like, I don't know what he did to do that. It looks great. It wasn't just like a seam, like sewn, like sewing machine sewn or hand sewn. And I had to do a little Googling around to learn that it's called hem stitching, which is not exclusive to cross stitching either. Like, it's like kind of its whole own thing, but you can use it to finish your cross stitches. People also use it for like tapestry weaving. It's a way you can make fringed edges. And anyway, that's what I decided to do because I didn't really want to just like flat fold it over a piece of foam core. I think that looks like fine, but it's not like the nicest thing ever necessarily. And so I thought I'd try my hand at hem stitching, and this is where I ended up. So you can see the edges here. I have like pulled out one of the directions of the weave of the thread to leave this kind of fringe, and oops, those, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but like I have taken a piece of thread and kind of wrapped those to bundle them into fringe for like every 3 strands. And that stitching that you do to tie that off is called hem stitch, I believe. And it secures the ends of the fabric, right? So this isn't gonna keep fraying, it's like sewn in place now. And I thought that was a pretty cute little way to finish this off. I still need to give it a good iron and get some nice pictures of it, and then I will update the Etsy listing, and I will also update, like post nice pictures on my Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is down below, but it's at StemXstitch, pretty easy. And if you want to figure out how to do a hem stitch yourself, because it's not something I see a lot of people do, I will link a couple of videos in the description so that you can take a look at that and try it for yourself. I think it turned out pretty cute. It's kind of like a more rustic finish for this one. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to like put it in one of those frames, you know, where it's basically just like clear glass all the way through. I think that could look interesting. Or if I'm just gonna like leave it as a little flat fold and you know, tuck it away somewhere. I don't know, but I'll let you know if I do anything with it. And then I also did a slightly different hem stitch finish for the blue version that my mom stitched, which is so cute when you put them next to each other. Like I didn't realize the size difference until my mom sent it to me and I saw them next to each other. Like, look at how stinking cute and tiny that is. So this is on 18 count. Well, it's on 36 count, but it's stitched over 2, so it's like 18 count. And then this is like 25 or 28 count. I'm not sure. It was just like a scrap of fabric that I got from my mom. And it's stitched over 1. So it's much smaller. It's very, very cute. And I did a little bit of a different hem stitch on this. You might be able to tell. So I left the fabric weaves on at the top so that it's not quite fringe. And then it leaves this cool little like hole pattern. And I did the hem stitch on the bottom and the top of this to open up those holes even more. So as like, if you can imagine the difference. So, right, like this one, In the brown, I did the hem stitch just across this bottom bit. This one, I did it on the bottom and the top side of this because I didn't pull that fringe out. You can hem stitch and kind of like tuck the extra fabric behind and like sew through it as well, which I think is what a lot of people do if they want to like have a fully finished edge, because this is still a little precarious, if I'm being honest. And that's really cool too. But I felt like, well, one, on this piece, I stitched it on like the teeniest, tiniest scrap of fabric that I had left of this color, because it was like the only like beige-ish off-white color I had in my stash. And I was like, it'll just fit, I'll just do it. So I didn't actually have enough fabric to do that kind of like folded over hem. This one I might have, but I figured the piece is so small on its own that I felt like a hem would look really bulky. So I just made it up. Honestly, I just made it up. So anyway, that's some ideas if you are looking for a way to finish your Save the Bees once you stitch it, and you don't really find a frame you like, and maybe you don't want to do custom framing because it's expensive, and you want to try something new. So take a look at hem stitching. It's pretty neat, and yeah, I'm like glad I kind of tested it out, and now it's a new possible way for me to finish things. So, okay, that's Save the Bees. I went on a whole tangent there. Okay. So anyway, thank you for your support for Save the Bees. I think it was a really good first pattern for me. It was actually literally the first one I designed, and then I like edited it a few times after that first like kind of idea. And it felt like the right thing to release first. But I do have another release. I can't remember if I said this in my first video, but, or not my first video, in my last video, but before I even released any patterns, I had designed 5, because I wanted to kind of make sure I like tested my hand at it a little bit and kind of got ahead of the game, so I had more than one thing to release. I haven't designed more than 5. I'm still coasting on those right now, but I'm thinking, you know, that's something I need to think about doing soon if I want to keep releasing things. So the second pattern I designed is the one that I am releasing today, and it is called Rolling Hills. So Rolling Hills looks, excuse me, Rolling Hills looks like this. It is pretty simple also, you know. I haven't made any really complicated patterns yet. And it's got, you know, 3 colors of greens in the hills, 2 different yellows and kind of this off-white, and a few different browns for the houses, and then just a white for the stars and the moon in the sky. And I recommend doing it on a navy or dusty blue fabric, something that makes you think of the sky at day or night, whatever you want, right? Dusk, dawn. But you know, it's really up to you, right? I totally love when people make a pattern their own. So if you, I don't know, if you don't like the greens in the hills and you want something brighter, go for it. If you don't like yellow houses, change the color, make them, I don't know, make them blue, make them gray, make them all white, who knows. If you don't like, you know, these chunky stars, switch them out for all the little ones, or don't do the stars at all and just do the moon. Do whatever you want. This is just an idea that I had, a pattern that I made, and I want you to make it something that you will like. So if there's like one little tweak or a couple little tweaks that'll make you love it even more, go for it. I would love that. So yeah, this is Rolling Hills. It is, I'll show it up close one more time. It is up in my shop now. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. This one in particular was very kindly model stitched for me by Martha. I mentioned Martha in my last video. Martha is amazing. It's kind of crazy that I have only ever emailed with Martha. And asked her this. She didn't have a Flosstube, I don't believe, but I'm not sure if she has an Instagram or not. Yeah, I have only ever emailed with Martha. Her stitching is beautiful. It's so gorgeous. I mean, look at that. It's so good. She was so sweet, and she reached out to me and asked if I needed help model stitching my patterns when I teased my shop a couple videos ago. And I was like, actually, yes, I do really need help. And she was so kind. So she offered to stitch up this, and was so helpful. She like proofread my pattern for me. She gave me feedback. Yeah, her stitching is gorgeous. Also, shout out to Martha, because not only is she awesome and she stitched a model for me, and just like helped me out. It was like voluntary, completely voluntary. Thank you, Martha. But Martha also entered her cross stitching and her quilting in her local like county fair, and she won second place for her stitching and first place for her quilting. So Martha's awesome, literally so awesome. So yes, Rolling Hills, thank you, Martha. It's stitched on navy Ada. This is on 18 count with 2 strands, and all of the call for colors are DMC. I've not recommended any fancy floss or anything like that. Let me open this up real quick. I'll just show you that while I'm booping around on my computer. I have a couple super secret other things to show you about this pattern. So, one, if you want to do the all cross stitch version, like I said, DMC, you can do it on whatever count you want. The 18 count fits like really nicely into a 4-inch hoop, and I just love 18 count. And if you're gonna do the cross stitch version, this is 2,217 stitches. Okay, so not terrible, right? It's 75 by 75 this way and that way. But if you are thinking and looking at this and going, that's a lot of block stitching in green. One, you're right, it is a lot of block stitching green. And it would look really gorgeous if you swapped those greens out for something like a couple variegated flosses and got some like, you know, color changes in your hills. Totally do it. I think that would be gorgeous. Alternatively, if you're thinking, I do not want to cross stitch that many blocks of green, then I have the option for you. If you are decently advanced or like a decently comfortable cross stitcher, then I would like to offer you, this comes with the pattern, they're both together, the cross stitch and satin stitch version. So it has both cross stitches and satin stitches in there. I'll try to hold that up so you can see it nicely. So the hills are now satin stitch instead of cross stitches, so you could do it more quickly. The houses are still cross stitches and the stars are still cross stitches. So it's kind of like a combo, right? I personally don't think I've ever seen a pattern that uses satin stitch and cross stitch. Usually it's one or the other. But I had really enjoyed doing like full satin stitch, like mountains and things like that. I usually use at Vika's space, her patterns are gorgeous. And that kind of gave me the inspiration to switch out the cross stitch in the hills for satin stitch. And to be honest, at first I was afraid it wasn't gonna work. And it is definitely experimental, right? This is totally experimental. I honestly don't expect many people to try this, but I really wanted to give it a try. And so there are instructions for how to do this in the pattern. If you have any trouble or if you're at all confused about my explanation, please feel free to comment on my YouTube video, find me on Instagram and DM me, send me an email, anything. I'm happy to help, because I know this isn't really something that's done very often. But my recommendation for this is a couple things. One is to get that really nice full coverage on the mountains. I'm using 4 strands of DMC, and I'm using 28 count fabric. So these stitches follow the weave of the fabric, and they're like the holes are vertical, like aligned, and you're going like, you know, from this hole to that hole. So you're making those satin stitches perfectly vertical. They're basically replacing columns of cross stitches. And because this is on 28 count, then I did the actual cross stitches over 2 to make them like 14 count. So I did 3 strands over 2 for the cross stitches themselves. And so for each column of cross stitch, there are 2 satin stitches for the hills. So hopefully if I hold that nice and close, you can kind of get an idea of what I'm saying. I found that this worked best when I tried to do it like smaller with 1/1 cross stitch. The hills kind of like overshadowed the houses too much. I think the cross stitches need to be bigger to stand out with the satin stitch. And then the other thing that is I highly recommend, because you want the like hills to look nice and full coverage, right? So you got to use the strands. You can kind of like use your needle to help lay them flat. And then you want to do the satin stitches that butt right up to the sides of the houses. They almost kind of overlap with a cross stitch, but that makes it look nice and full and complete. So all of that is to say, this is my new pattern. It's called Rolling Hills. You can find it on my Etsy. My shop is called xstitch. I will link it down below. And there are 2 versions. Again, I'm really into releasing 2 versions with every pattern. So there's the full cross stitch version, and then there's the version with cross stitch and satin stitch if you want to try something a little bit new. Yeah. I hope you enjoy. So I think that is all of the shop updates that I have. The floor is really far away. Awesome. Oh, I did want to chat and just mention plans for, I guess, my shop continuing into the future. In a perfect world, I'm hoping that I could potentially release a new pattern every month, but I don't know how long I can keep that up for. So for now, what I do know is I have designed 3 more patterns. They're a trio. They go together. And I will be releasing that trio, all 3 patterns, next month in the beginning of August. Whenever I make my August YouTube video, they will go up on my Etsy store. So that is my plan for that. And I am so excited for that release, because I feel like those I love the 2 patterns that I've already shown you guys, but these ones I feel like really kind of marry the stem part and the stitch part. So hopefully you like that, and I can't wait to show you those. I'm model stitching them right now. Martha is amazing. She helped me model stitch one of those as well, and she just sent me them. They look so pretty. I am model stitching a couple of them. My mom is model stitching one. This sounds like more than you would need people to model stitch, but again, I decided to be extra, and I'm releasing 2 versions of each of them. So I'm getting both versions model stitched, so it's really like 6 models instead of 3. So I'm model stitching 2, Martha model stitched both versions of one of the patterns. My mom is model stitching one, and the wonderful Michelle from Bendy Stitchy is model stitching the other. I can't wait to show you guys those. So look out for that in the future. Okay, that is officially all of the Etsy shop update things. Let's move on to other full finishes. Yeah, I was on a kick this month. I felt like I got a lot of stitching done. So the first thing, which I think I have showed you the finish of before, but I finally fully finished. I will put a picture of right here. It is Luna Moth from Bluebell Patterns, which I stitched as a commission for my lovely friend, Allie. I finally sent the finished piece to her, and she took these really gorgeous pictures of it. I'll put both of them up. There's one of it hanging on her wall where she decided to put it up, and I think it looks so cute. I love how this turned out. I finished it in a 7-inch hoop that I got from Jessica Rose. Let me look that up. It is like a normal wooden hoop, but it's stained. So I chose like the walnut stained version because that looked really nice with the pattern and the black fabric and all of that. And it's kind of hard to find stained hoops. Like either you find a shop and they have stained hoops, but they like only have 6-inch, or you go to JessicaRoseStitchery. That is what it's called. JessicaRoseStitchery on Etsy has the widest variety of custom stained hoops that you could imagine. She has walnut and mahogany, like all the different types of stain, black, some different like actual vibrant colors as well. And they come in so many sizes, like 3 through 8-inch circular hoops, sometimes even oval hoops. So if you're looking to kind of like step up your finishing and you want to do a hoop finish and you want some nice stain that's not just like the basic, you know, light wood that you get from most cross-stitch hoops, check out JessicaRoseStitchery. I would highly recommend. So that is one of my fully finishes. That pattern was, let's see, it was 3,638 stitches in total. And I did it on black 18 count Aida because 18 count is the best. And then my other fully finish that I just finished about a week ago is Van Gogh's chair from TheStitchPatterns. So this is another of those lovely mini art patterns. I'm trying to tilt it so we get less reflection, and I don't think I'm succeeding. So, ooh, all the weird angles. Maybe if I just move it around enough, you can see it. So this is Van Gogh's chair. The colors in this I absolutely loved. Of course, yellows, lots of pretty like natural tones, and then the like light blues and greens in the back. I think they turned out so gorgeous. Yeah, so this is one of the mini art patterns from TheStitchPatterns on Etsy. They have so many. Like if you can think of like a famous painting or artist, they probably have one of their paintings converted into cross stitch. These patterns are awesome. They fit so well in these 2x3 frames that you can get in packs of 4 from Michaels. You can get them in white, you can get them in black, you can even get them, I think, in silver and gold, though that's not really my style. They're nice and simple, they're pretty cheap. And I have been finishing all of my mini art patterns in these tiny frames. I do have to make a slight modification to the patterns. They're about 2 rows too short this way. And some fabric will show, so I just make up 2 additional rows. And this one I added 1 row to the top and 1 row to the bottom. No big deal, it's not too hard because they're kind of, you know, estimations of these paintings anyway. And you can kind of just continue the pattern on either side. So I do have to add 2 rows, which makes this a total of 1,092 stitches. And I do these on 28 count, but I do it over 2, so you could do it on 14 count. I use 3 strands to get that really nice dense coverage, and then I use one strand for the back stitching. Do it all in the DMC. This one I started on June 17th, and I finished on June 24th with only 6 stitching days. So they're pretty fast finishes. I feel like 6 stitching days sounds like a lot to some people. I'm not that fast of a stitcher. Like that might be that I picked it up one day and did like 30 stitches, especially because I stitch on these on the bus a lot of times. But yeah, they're pretty fast finishes, and I have been collecting a bunch of finishes like this that I'm really, really excited to hang up together on a wall like a mini art gallery. I haven't done it yet, but I have plans for it, and I will tell you more about that later. So those are all of my finishes. I have an amazing amount of random things laid out around me that I have to keep bending down to grab and show you. All right, so on to the mid-year WIP Parade, right? I currently have 6 WIPs. One of them I cannot show you because it is the model stitch I'm working on. So I have 5 WIPs that I'm going to show you. I will do them in order of like when I started them. How about that? I think I have that information. At least I generally have that information. Yes, okay. So the first one that I'll show you is my temperature cell, which I can finish in 28 days. I can finish this because I was waiting for my birthday, which is on July 28th. So yay. I kind of forgot that that's happening soon, and that means that I could finish this. So this is my temperature cell. I made this up myself, and I decided what I wanted to do was stitch, like, I wanted to do a temperature cell for a while, but I had no idea how I would pick just like a random year to do my temperature cell for. Like, that just felt not significant enough to me and kind of like a lot of work for like one random year. And so instead I decided to be extra, and I decided to stitch every year since I was born. Or sorry, like every day of every year since I was born. So this is my temperature cell so far. I have, I think, just like the last year to go at the bottom, which is 2023. So I decided to start this from the day I was born, which was July 28th, 1998. Almost 25 years ago, and to do this for the first 25 years of my life. So I chose a color palette. I did all of the data collection, which took a good chunk of time. But there are websites that are very helpful. And then I had to look up the days that I made really big moves in my life. So I grew up in the same city, but then I moved to college. And so for the like 4 years of college that are on here, I did the colors from where I lived when I was in college. And then I changed to like, you know, the temperatures in Seattle when I moved to Seattle. So yeah, that is my temperature cell. I have 1 year to go. This has just been sitting for a while. I think I like finished 2022 at the like very beginning or like very end of 2022. Maybe I have 2 years left. Yeah, I think I have 2022 and 2023 maybe. I don't know, it's fine. I don't have that much left, but I basically just been waiting to do whatever I do have left until I have all the data, and I can't have all the data until it's my birthday. So yeah, and then the end of the year, like after my birthday, will be gray, just like the top. So it'll be just literally the first 25 years of my life. So that is my temperature cell. I think this has been really fun. It's kind of like a practice in large data sets and things like that, which like spoke to the, you know, the STEM part of my brain. So if you want to have a go at this, I would highly recommend it. It needs a little perseverance to do all the data, and you basically have to chart the pattern yourself. So that can be a little bit intimidating. But if you have any questions about how I did this, I'm happy to answer those in more depth. Just leave me a comment below or shoot me an email or something. So that temperature cell, let's see, some stats. Right now I have stitched 8,760 stitches out of a total of 9,490, which means I'm 92.31% done, which I think means that I have 2 years left. I'm doing it on 18 count white Aida with 2 strands of DMC. I made up my color palette for different temperature ranges. I think they're like 10-degree ranges is what I did. And they're just kind of colors of the rainbow. Hotter is red, colder is purple. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, and I started that in 2022, but I don't know when, because I wasn't tracking the dates when I started it. Alrighty, okay, next WIP is Elegant Lace. Elegant Lace is a pattern by WorksByABC. Excuse me, it's a really cool pattern. It's kind of unique in its style because it's trying to recreate the look of lace. So here's what mine looks like so far. I'm not sure how far I need to hold it back so that you can see the whole thing. Let me slowly adjust. Okay, you can see the whole thing. Maybe I can bring it a little closer. Anyway, so this is elegant lace. You can see I'm about 75% done, which is because that's how I set my WIP Go goals, is like to certain percentages. So this pattern is gorgeous. It is by WorksByABC, and it's unique because it uses a combination of full cross and half cross to make this kind of lacy effect. So those darker areas are full crosses, and the like lighter kind of less opaque areas are half stitches. And it also uses a really cool type of floss called DMC Floche for the full stitches. So you only need a single strand of the floche on 18 count. I'm doing this on 36 count over 2. The fabric is Zweigart Sahara. Such a pretty yellow. I love it so much. I think the white pops off of it really well. I literally cannot wait to have this done and frame it. I think it's so gorgeous. And it will be done this year because it will be called on my WIP Go board eventually. Yeah, so the floche, you only have to use like one strand to do those full crosses. And then you use a single strand of the normal DMC stranded cotton for the half stitches. And the floche kind of is like 1.5 or 2 strands of DMC, so it makes nice like stitches, but because you don't have to manage stitching with multiple threads, they're nice and like puffy, and it's really fast and easy, which I really enjoyed. So I have 14,732 stitches done on this out of a total of 19,369, which puts me at 76% complete. And the call to finish this is on my WIP Go board for this year. It just has not been called yet, so I'm patiently awaiting that because I love this pattern so much. And it's kind of fun to do monochrome stitching every once in a while, right? Like, you don't have to think too much. And that pattern is like kind of nice and repetitive and geometric and all of that. I also started that one in 2022, but I didn't write down when because I wasn't doing that then. Okay, then we have, so those two that I just showed you, I haven't worked on for a long time. The next one that I'm going to show you, I actually worked on this month. This is the only thing that I worked on and didn't finish this month, and it is Hidden Harbor by Heaven and Earth Designs. This one I think deserves me putting in the actual like finished picture. It is based off of artwork by Andy Russell, and I am doing the color expansion version because I decided to go big, go home. And I wanted to own the entire DMC range anyway, so I might as well just do the color expansion. So I started Hidden Harbor as my like new year, new start. I started on January 2nd of this year, and this is where I am at so far. So if you remember last time, I had started some of the pinks in these mountains. Since then, I have added in a lot more of the darker pinks and purpley colors in there. And they're not quite filled in yet, but you know, we're making progress. I've kind of decided, like, rather than working on this like square by square, which I tried on my last full coverage and it was nice for a while, but it got kind of like annoying to be constantly threading and rethreading my needle when I could just finish those stitches in the other square. So the way that I do this is I just stitch all of the stitches of that color in the area until I either run out of floss or I get too far away. And then I park it if it's too far away, which is why I have a couple parked threads, but not many. And then I leave all of these crazy hanging tails for the threads that I'm ending, where I just like, you know, move about 20 threads away, 20 stitches away, pull up the tail, trim it. And then that gets stitched over on the back, and then when I get to it, I snip it off. So it looks like chaos. And there's a bunch of stitches hiding under all of these ends of thread. This might not work for you, but it works really well for me, even though it looks crazy. And what I've been doing is just kind of stitching by like the areas of the pattern, which makes sense if you're doing like chunks of color. It works really well. So like there's a hill here that has a lot of greens in it, and I just haven't started those greens yet, so I haven't haven't started the hill, I've just filled in this bit. And so right now I'm doing the mountains. I think I might go into this hill after, I'm not so sure. And then down here there's like the houses and stuff. So I've just been kind of chipping away at it section by section. Right now I have done 16,409 stitches out of 135,150. I'm at 12.14% complete. And I am doing this on 25 count Lugana. It's the easy count version, so it has the grid on it already. Amazing. I would totally recommend getting pre-gridded fabric for a full coverage. And Lugana, like 25 or 28 count, is so nice for full coverage. Also, you can get 18 count in easy count, which I think would also be nice for a full coverage if you wanted it to like be really bigger as the final product. I decided to do this in half stitch, which maybe you can see if I hold it nice and close. 2 strands, half stitch, and that has made it go infinitely faster than it would have otherwise. So I love that. Like I said, I started this on January 2nd, and to get to this amount of progress, I have stitched on it for 37 days this year so far. Also, I'm behind, kind of. So this has been called on my WIP Go 4 times already this year. And each time it's called, my goal is to get an additional 5% of progress. So I said I'm at 12%. I have finished on time 2 of those goals, 2 of those WIP Go squares. And 2 of them I am very, very late on now. One was called in April and one was called last month in June. Yeah. So I thought maybe last month I could like catch up on the April one and get to 15%, but I did not get there. I had too much other stuff to stitch. So though I am behind, this is on my WIP Go board a total of 5 times, so it has 1 more time to be called. And at this point, my goal is just to get to 25% by the end of the year and call all those WIP Go's like complete but late, which I would be very happy with. But because of that, I need to keep chipping away at it, so I'm gonna keep it out this month and hopefully keep working on it and get at least to like 15% or something. But I have a lot of other cross stitching to be doing too, so it's been a little bit hard to balance, because when I made my WIP Go board, there was a lot of things I wasn't doing. I wasn't making YouTube videos. I wasn't designing patterns or model stitching my patterns. Can you hear the cat meowing? He's crying because he's locked out of this room. And my boyfriend has also probably locked him out of the office right now. And he wants to be let in. Anyway, yeah, when I made my WIP Go board, I wasn't doing as many things as I'm doing stitchy wise now. And so a lot of my stitching time has been occupied by other things. And I've had a lot of patterns that I didn't ever plan to stitch come up because I just invented them and decided I needed to stitch them, right? I made them up myself. So I think like my WIP Go goals were set up to be very well intentioned. And if I wasn't doing like if I didn't have models to stitch, I probably could meet all of them. But that's just not the reality anymore. And I'll know that for next year's WIP Go board. But I still really like doing WIP Go. I think it's fun to kind of push myself towards those goals. So I am enjoying it. But that's just the reality there. Okay. My next WIP is in this tube. If you have noticed, I keep a lot of my WIPs that I'm not actively working on in these like empty tubes that I get from the fabric. When you buy fabric at Michael's, a lot of times it comes in these, and they're really handy for storing your projects. So don't throw them away, they're super useful. Okay. So my next WIP to show you is Unexpected Visitors by Night Spirit Studios. Lately there's been a hashtag / movement going around on Instagram called hashtag Stitch for Sage. Sage is the designer at Night Spirit Studios, and they have been struggling with some health complications, I believe a cancer battle. And so people have been focusing on their Night Spirit Studios patterns to support Sage and buying new patterns from Sage because their designs are awesome. Yeah. So this is, I guess, my shout out to go support Sage. Go check out Night Spirit Studios designs because there's so many gorgeous ones, and this is only one of them, but this is probably my favorite. This pattern like speaks to me. I don't know, every time I look at it I just like want to laugh, but also it's so pretty. So yeah, anyway, this is Unexpected Visitors. I'm doing it over 1 on 28 count because I wanted it to be small and cute. I also, this is natural linen, and I converted the colors to Threadworks because I just wanted to try out a different fancy floss, and I've been enjoying it, so that's been nice. Like I said, 1 over 1, and I started this on January 30th, January 30th, 2023. I am 67% done. This was a WIP Go call to start, and I was supposed to get to 50%, and I loved it so much that I just kept going and going and going, and I got to 67%. And it's on my WIP Go board one more time, but hasn't been called yet, and when it's called, I will finish it. I love this pattern. I can't wait to finish it. It's gonna look so cute in a frame. I feel like I keep saying that about everything. It's gonna look so cute when I finish it. Oh man, I'm glad I only have like 6 WIPs. I don't understand how people keep like 40 or 50 WIPs, because I would just look at them all the time and get so overwhelmed because I would want to work on all of them. So for me, fewer is better. Like enough to fill up a WIP Go board for a year is good. And that's kind of like where I like to stay. Okay, and then the last WIP that I have to show you is Ocean Wave from Night Spirit Studios. I'll put in the finished picture, or like the mock-up of that, because it's kind of a more abstract looking thing. Yeah, this is by ZephyrMood. I can't remember if I said that. I am stitching it on 18 count, over two strands on 18 count, like everything. I feel like that's most of the time, if I don't say what I'm doing, it's probably 2 strands on 18 count. So this is where I'm at so far. Got a good chunk done. I have done 6,376 stitches out of 9,532, so I'm 66.89%. This was also on my WIP Go board, which is why I started it. You can kind of see a trend. A lot of the things I started because I put them on my WIP Go board and I was planning to do them this year. I put this on my board 3 times, each time for 1/3 of the progress. So it's been called twice. I have met those goals on time, and it was called again for July. So I will be finishing this in July. Yeah, I think it's turning out nice. I feel like it's a little bit hard to see if it's gonna look good until it's actually finished, just because you really need all of those details in there to tell if it's gonna look like a wave. But I think it's gonna turn out. I have hope. I started this one on March 1st, and I have spent 38 days working on it. Again, this is one of those projects that is easy for me to take on the bus, so I might work on it a lot of days, but I don't necessarily make a lot of progress on some of those days. Also for Unexpected Visitors, I've worked on that one for 27 days this year. All right, so that's my WIP Parade. I hope that was a little bit fun. It was only 5 things. I'll also have another WIP, but it's secret. Should I show you a sneak peek? I'll show you a little sneak peek. This is my WIP, my model stitch for one of the 3 patterns I am releasing in August. I'm gonna slowly raise it into the camera to give you a sneak peek. Okay, that's all you get. That's the sneak peek. Maybe you can make a guess at what you think it is based on that. If you have a guess, leave it in the comments. I'd love to see what people think, or if they have any ideas of what I might be, what I might have designed. Based on a couple clues I've given you. One, the sneak peek, and two, that I said it's a nice marriage of both stem and stitch. Okay, so those are all my WIPs. Can't wait to show you that one next time. Let's do June stats. Yes, June stats. I wrote May stats on my notes. I don't think I ever know what month it is. Okay, so June stats. I have a picture of them. Here you go. Those are my June stats. I only had one day that I didn't stitch at all. I worked on 5 different projects and I finished 3 of those, which I'm very proud of. I did a total of 8,147 stitches in the month of June, which puts my stitches this year at 47,485. I want to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. That's like my undercover goal. Since we're halfway through the year, I'm not quite on track to hit that, but I'm not terribly far off. So I think it might be possible. Cross your fingers. I just think it would be fun. Yeah. And then if you want to see, I will also stick in a couple pictures of the graphs of my, a picture of the graph of my stitching every month so far this year. So you can see. I had a couple slow months, I had a couple really, really busy months. Yeah, so that's my June wrap up. Short and sweet. So in July, I will finish model stitching the two versions of the patterns that I'm going to release in August. So that's 2 things. Then I'm going to keep working on Hidden Harbor, even though it's not a WIP Go call for this month. I have 2 calls for it that I need to catch up on. And then Ocean Wave was a call for this month, and I need to finish that for WIP Go this month. And then that's already a lot. Maybe, if I have time. My other WIP Go call for this month was a pattern called Green Birdsong Butterfly that I'll put up a picture of here. It's from Harp Seal Designs. And yeah, it's another one of the patterns that I picked out that will like all go up on my like butterfly wall one day. But I don't know if I'm actually gonna get to that this month. It seems like far-fetched to be able to do that many things, and it's pegged for a finish on my WIP Go, so that might just have to be another late one. So those are my plans for July. The biggest priority is finishing my models, and then everything else is just goals I've set for myself. But nobody's like, even the models, right? It's just a goal I've set for myself to release them in August. So those are the goals I'm working towards. Whether or not I finish them doesn't really matter because it's all about the fun, right? Okay, those are my plans. Purchases, I don't really have too many. I purchased that stained hoop from JessicaRoseStitchery, which I already kind of talked about, so I'll just say it again. If you want a beautiful stained hoop, go check out JessicaRoseStitchery. I bet they have whatever you're looking for because they have so many options. And then the happy mail that I got was also from Martha. I feel like this video is an ode to Martha. Martha, you're awesome. Again. Martha sent me, and I don't have it with me because I left it at home. Martha sent me like a laser cut blank for cross stitching on. So it's like a rectangle and it has enough holes to stitch one of the mini art patterns from the Stitch Patterns on it. That's such a sweet idea. Thank you, Martha. I feel like that's so like personal. I think it would be really cool to stitch one of those right on some wood and see. I feel like it'll have a nice and really interesting effect. I just have to figure out which one I think will look good on it. So stay tuned. I have no idea what I'm going to do with that yet. Well, I mean, I know I'm going to stitch a mini art pattern on it, but I don't know which one. But I think it would be fun to do something new and stitch on wood. Like, that's such a cool idea. So thank you so much for sending that to me, Martha. It was very sweet. And I'm really excited to test it out. Otherwise, I've just, you know, bought some boring things like DMC colors I ran out of, or ones that I'm close to running out of, and more 18 count white fabric. So nothing really too crazy there. And I haven't bought any patterns because I have a lot that I need to stitch that I've already bought. So I've been trying to hold back there. Okie dokie. So last but not least, I'll give you some life updates. I completely forgot about the life updates section of my video when I did my video last month. So we're gonna go back in time, back to the end of May, when I got to go to Disneyland with some of my favorite people. I haven't been to Disneyland in a few years. I grew up in California, so we went, you know, several times as I was growing up. The last time I went was, I think, like after my first or second year of college, so it's been like 5 or 6 years. And I went with my boyfriend, and my sister met us there. She picked us up from the airport, and I went with my like best friend in grad school, my old housemate. We don't live together anymore because she moved out, and her boyfriend. She moved out with her boyfriend. I feel like that was a weird way to say that. It was me and my boyfriend and my best friend and her boyfriend, who's also awesome, and my sister. So literally the best group of people ever. And we had such a fun time. I haven't been to Disneyland since they opened like the whole big Star Wars land area, and since they started doing those trackless rides. So like one of the Star Wars rides and also the new like Mickey and Minnie one are trackless. So cool. If you don't know what trackless means, because I couldn't really picture it when I first heard about it, imagine you're on a normal ride, except for instead of seeing a track in front of you where you know where the things are gonna go, it's just an open floor, and the little carts that you're sitting in, or whatever the ride is in, is just programmed to go where it needs to go. So cool. Really neat. And the new Star Wars one, the Rise of the Resistance, is like an incredible, fully immersive experience, because you go through like multiple stages of it, and you know, they have all the cast members, but they're all like in character. Very cool. So Disneyland was awesome. It was great to see my sister and get to spend time with like a bunch of people that I really care about. It was also my boyfriend's very first time in Disneyland, so that was super fun, because you know, like when everything is new, it's just like that much cooler. Even though Disneyland, like the whole like setup and all of the rides and all of the like artistry that goes into them is absolutely next level, right? Like I've never seen more realistic animatronics, other than maybe in movies. But like there's no CGI in this, right? If you're seeing like something like a physical object move around. Yeah, so watching him experience everything for the first time was also really exciting, and I think he had a good time and was kind of also blown away by it, so that was really fun. After that, I came back and I had to meet with my graduate committee, my supervisory committee, I guess is the official name, which was like the first time I met with the group of people who get to grill me when I defend my PhD and decide if I pass or not. It went really well. Everybody was really nice. I got like really good feedback, like positive feedback, but also helpful feedback. So that went better than expected. I was a little stressed about it, especially because the new project that I've been working on has like met a lot of hurdles recently that have been really hard to get past, and I've been troubleshooting it for months and months. So it was nice to hear positive feedback regardless of those difficulties. And then after that, I feel like I need to be putting pictures in. I think I'm gonna put some pictures in. Here's a picture of me and my sister and my best friend at Disneyland. Can you believe that we went the whole time and forgot to take a whole group picture? This is all we got. I don't have a picture for my committee meeting because that would be weird. And then we went to an animal sanctuary to celebrate my friend's birthday. Here's a picture of her with a donkey. I'm putting you on blast, Ariana. I hope it's okay. Here are pictures of my friend. We went to an animal sanctuary out in like Sammamish area, Renton area. And it was really fun. They had like cows and horses and ducks and bunnies, really big rabbits actually. They weren't bunnies, they were big. They had donkeys and alpacas and pigs and goats, and you could pet all of them. I pet a chicken for the first time. Pet some really soft bunnies. I thought cats were soft. Those bunnies were so soft. Anyway, the animal sanctuary was very fun. And then after that, we went camping, like the next weekend or something. We went camping up at Larrabee State Park, which is near Bellingham, Washington. It was really nice. It was me and my boyfriend, my best friend, and her boyfriend. I mean, we're kind of like, we do a lot of things together, if you haven't noticed. Especially because like we lived together for 3 years. My friend and I, Ariana and I. So we kind of like did a lot of things together already, and they would, both our boyfriends would be over the house, and now we're kind of just like an inseparable little double date group. And it's always really fun. So we went camping together. This is something we also did last year in June, so I'm determined that this is now our tradition, and every June we have to go camping. Although I would say that June is a little bit of a hard time to camp in Washington because you never know what the weather's going to be like. And even though we had many weeks of beautiful sunny weather, of course the weekend we went, we were like, it might rain on us. It did rain on us one evening. Like while we were sleeping, it rained on us overnight, but it wasn't too bad. So we got out of that one all right. And then I have so many stories to tell you. Then I went to Hawaii with my family for the second time this year. I was in Hawaii. I went back to Oahu for like a chill vacation with my parents and my sister. Here's a picture of us riding horses on the beach. It's such a funny picture. Like the angle that it's shot at, I think is hilarious. Yeah, Hawaii was gorgeous, of course. We ate a lot of good food. We did some fun things like horseback riding and zip lining. The zip lining was super fun and probably some of the most gorgeous places I've been to in a while. But we also just had a lot of chill days at the beach and by the pool, reading, playing games, and all of that. My parents taught my sister and I how to play pinochle, and my brain exploded for a minute, and then it was fun. So that was great. I just got back from Hawaii last Wednesday, and I want to be back there. It was so nice to spend time with my family. I hadn't seen them. I don't even know when. I saw them like back in March when I saw my family in California, and then I went to a conference. It was a while ago, so it was nice to see them again. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Lots of fun traveling and doing new things. And it's not over yet because my lab is also super awesome. So all of the other grad students I work with, and our advisor, or the professor who's in charge of our group, are awesome people who love doing outdoorsy things. So we're going on a lab camping trip. That's like in a week and a half or something. And then after that, like I mentioned, my birthday is in July. I'm a July baby. There's not that many of us. My birthday is at the end of July, and my parents and my sister are coming up to visit for that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them again. Some years I only see them like twice a year, so this year has been really special to get to see them like 4 or 5 times. And that'll be really fun. We always do fun things when they're here. We'll probably go like to a cider place. My sister turned 21 at the end of last year, and they haven't been to Seattle since then, so I have a cider place I want to take her to. And we'll go and celebrate my birthday and all of that. And then kind of at the same time / immediately after, I am moving. My lease is ending and I'm moving here. This is my boyfriend's townhouse. and we're moving in together at the end of this month. You might notice that, let's see, let me get my camera up so I can point to things. You might notice that I have shot a video here before, but it looks a little different. We painted an accent wall behind the bed, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and then like got a new bed and bed frame, and the floors were replaced. You can't really see them, like there was carpet in here before, now there's hardwood. And we have a few other touches to put on the room, like we need a rug for under the bed, and we need a new comforter and some like nicer pillows for decorative pillows. And I need to hang some of my cross stitches on the wall when I move in, but I'm really excited for that. And that's also what I was saying about like making a little mini art gallery wall. I'm waiting to put one up here. My boyfriend also has a couple of mini art cross stitches that I've made for him for different like birthdays and holidays. And so we're gonna pull them all together into a cute little gallery wall. And then, yeah, just other work things have been happening in the background, as always. Some really exciting ones. I got into a teaching program that's run at the University of Washington, where you get trained on like active and inclusive learning strategies, and then you get to design and teach your own course. I'm really, really excited about that because sadly, as a graduate student, there's very little training in how to teach that happens, even though we go on to be professors in a lot of cases. And I'm really excited about the idea of finding like kind of a professor role where I'm really focused on teaching. And so having an opportunity to really concretely like learn the skills to be a good teacher is so important to me, and I'm really excited that I have this opportunity to do that in a really concrete way with a lot of guidance and mentorship. So I'm really thankful for that. That doesn't start till next fall, but I'm so excited. And I'm also now a co-lead of our group STEM Pals, the STEM outreach group of graduate students at UW. I think I've talked about STEM Pals before, but it's really exciting to kind of step up and be one of the people who's like finding us like people to work with and students who need exposure to STEM and getting to help run lead projects and stuff like that. So that has been really fun. Yeah, so that's all my life updates. Kind of a lot, kind of rapid fire, but it's been a while and lots of things have happened and they've all been really amazing, and it's just a good time. I'm really busy, but it's such a good time. So yeah, that's my video. Hope you enjoyed. It was indeed a longer one than I usually do, and I will see you in August. Until then, I hope you have a lovely July, and I hope you are enjoying summer wherever you are. Yeah, and I'll see you at the beginning of August for my trio pattern release. And I think I might highlight some of my favorite stitching accessories in my next video. So until then, have a great summer, and I'll see you later. Bye.